Hey guys, it's January 7th. I've been studying all week because my school just started again. And now it's Saturday and I'm in a blizzard. Can you see that out the window? Virginia is not used to snow, so everything is getting shut down. Thought I'd do some chess tactics. But I thought I'd switch over to chess tempo and see how that is for a time. So I just created an account. I haven't done any of the puzzles yet with it, so let me log in and go to the tactics and let me see what's going on. And if you hear something in the background, that's Trisha. She's threatening to put on Africa by Toto, so you might hear that song in a minute. Let's do some tactics. Let me see if it's gonna happen. Let me make sure everything looks right. Let's see. Tactics, problem set, standard. Well, is that what I want? Standard, I guess. Start. Okay, well, that looks really tiny. Is there a way to zoom this in? All right. Okay, so there's a timer on this one. There's none castling to play white. Problem set standard 32,805 in set. Correct and incorrect. Well, that's cool. Okay, so let's see. White to move. Does it give me a rating here? I think it does at the top here. So all 1,500. I assume practice will change if I get any right or wrong. Let's see. So there's a check on b5, there's a check on e4, but it's double defended, doesn't look like that. So I think the idea here is to play against the bishop, try and get a fork. It's even material. I do have a passed pawn, however, and it would be hard for black to defend with the bishop. So if I push the pawn, king to c7 is not helpful. I can take the pawn right now. Bishop takes. Doesn't look very helpful. Knight to c4 defends the pawn. I mean, black is not threatening to win the pawn yet. So let's see, knight b4 or knight b5 check, king c6. There's no sort of zugzwang here, so bishop can just go back and forth along that diagonal. If I'm not careful, he'll get a passed pawn on the king side and just run. So if I push the pawn, king to c7, there's no way to defend it. Can I run my king over and eat up the rest of his pawns? They're all in light squares. If I push the pawn, king to c7, knight takes, then king takes, knight to f6, push the pawn, maybe knight to b4 to c5 to help the pawn push. So like knight to b4 first, followed by pawn push, and then knight to c5. Is there a good fork? Oh, if I push, there should be a fork on d6. So if I push king c7, knight b5, check, king takes, knight d6. And if he doesn't take, so pawn push, king c7, knight b5, check. If he doesn't take, like knight c8, no, there's no knight c8, so knight b8. Then just knight in to d6, defend the pawn, wait. Bishop moves back to g8. Then do I have Zugzwang? No, knight has e5 as well. I mean, there's the fork there, but is it threatening enough? Pawn push, king c7, knight b5 check, king takes c7, knight d6 fork. That's definitely winning, but he doesn't have to take, does he? Knight b5 check. Then, oh, I can hear Toto in the background. I don't know if you guys can hear that. So what about knight b5 check? There's no way the bishop can get back to defend. So knight b5 check. If he goes king c6, then push the pawn. And then either he takes the knight or he takes the pawn, right? But what if he just goes to like c6? Knight b5 check, king c6. Pawn b7. He's either got to take it or go to c7. Pawn b7. He's either got to take b7 or go to c7. And if he goes to b7, no, he doesn't have b7. So knight b5 check, or c7. Knight b5 check, king c6, b7. He can't stay alongside the pawn. He's got to take one of the two. If he takes the knight, I queen. If he takes the pawn, I fork. Now push. Zia doesn't have this square any longer. There we go. I like how fast it moves right afterwards. I guess it doesn't run all-time high, 1607. Personal record for highest standard tactic problem correct. Okay. So I guess it doesn't run through a computer analysis. I guess it's done all those beforehand. And I can't really see. Can I do other things? Let's see what it says first. Problem blitz rating is pretty high. Average blitz average seconds 27. Blitz attempts. Okay, so standard and average seconds is 1:54. So I did take a long time for that. I took 8 minutes to figure it out. to be fair, I wasn't going for time, but I guess that's kind of one of the things they do. So if you get it in 27 seconds, this is your rating with this success rate. And if you get it in 2 minutes, this is your rating. This is the success rate. So mixed rating, average attempt time, less than 50%. Let's see, there's comments, there's tags for it, you can vote. Okay, now what can we do if we want to see? Oh, I don't know if you guys could see any of that. Here, let me roll down a little bit so you can see what I was talking about. So this is the time for blitz, this is the time for standard, this is the combined, and these are the percentages. So that's really nice to be able to see. But can I jump back and do other moves maybe? There's no analyses. So there's check, here, check. I mean, like, for example, could I see, what if I thought this? So there's a sideline where you can just analyze, but it doesn't give you rating or anything like that. So that is nice to be able to have the chess engine. On the other one, but this is cool. So 1 correct, 0 incorrect, last problem for session. All right, let's go to next problem. Now I know that they're doing the timing for that. Maybe I'll try and speed up just a little bit. I mean, I do want to just get it right, but. So white to play, none castling. I'm not sure what that means. I mean, obviously both have castled. So obviously I want to look at checks. Rook takes g6 check. Bishop takes. Not a lot there. Wait for me. There's nothing that 100 men or more could ever do. There's the f8 check. Rook f8. Queen f8. Black's problem is the g7 square, so I'm trying to distract the queen. Like rook e6. Rook e6 looks pretty good, huh? Rook e6, queen takes, there's mate. Queen moves, take the rook with check. He's got in-between checks on g2. Rook e6, bishop takes g2. Can I take? If I take, he can, there's got a check on g5 to lose the queen. There's a check on b7 to escape. So that's no good. So if he takes h1, there's no checks on h1. I mean h2. I'm on h1. So bishop takes, king h2. So rook e6, bishop takes g2, king h2. Then I guess queen g7. Then I can take with check. Queen blocks. That's mate. That looks pretty good. Yep. But now I have to go to h2. Here there's checks on a7. Here there's checks on b7. Here there's no checks. And back. So takes here. That does defend that square. So I get the queen. Cool. Wow. Just get badges for everything. Number of rated tactic problems correct in a row. I wonder if I'm going to keep getting those every time I do one right. So let's roll down so you guys can see what's going on here. It's a 2000 rated problem if you get it right in 27 seconds. It's 1700 if you get it right in 2 minutes, which I did it in 3 minutes, but excuse me. I'm really focused on getting it right. I'm not trying to see really quickly, which maybe I'll move to. And also, when you talk through something, it takes a little longer, I think. But that's cool. 1777 for a 2-minute rating. Combined 1742. There's a bunch of comments too, huh? I missed king takes g2. Queen b7 check. Yeah, so we saw that. I hate problems where the average time is insanely fast. I always lost points. So I gained 134 points. The problem lost a half a point. Oh wow, my rating is really high now. Huh? Oh, standard 1872. So I wonder if you get blitz points if you go fast, and you get standard points if you don't. Anyway, there's a lot of comments that you can see if you want to discuss something or whatever, but that seemed to work out pretty good. So 1872 rated. I can stop right here. I already beat what people said I was going to get. Ha. All right, next problem. White to play. I don't know what this castling thing is. So, knight d4 check. So there's no king move down. There's no king move up. So king moves, I've got d2 and d3 to look at. I've got the take to look at. But it looks like if I take rook to e6 check, wins the queen, or more. It might lead to mate somehow. So it kind of looks like a move to d2 or to d3. Well, instantly I would like d3 more, because when you're right next to a knight like that, there's no checks. And on d2, there's more checks to look at. There's a check on b3 and a check on f3 to look at. Am I up material here? 2 rooks and a minor with 4 pawns. So I got an exchange for a pawn. What is white threatening? To take the queen. You alright? What are you looking at? Nothing. King to d3. There's no more checks. Well, that's a lie. Now there's queen to e4. Pushing me further out. So, king to d2. What does he do on king to d2? He's got the check on f3, which I can just take. I mean, d1's protected, so like king d2, knight f3 check, queen takes f3, rook d6 check, king c1. I've got 2 defenders, and now plus the king, so 3 defenders on d1. So that doesn't look very good for black. So king to d2, knight to b3, check, takes with the bishop. King to d2, knight to b3. Bishop takes with check. That gives a tempo on the king. Plenty of time to take the queen. That looks pretty good. So knight to b3 doesn't work. I think knight to f3 doesn't work. So king to d2, and if something like queen takes d1, king takes d1, there's no checks that I need to worry about. The knight can't check there. King to d2. What if he moves the queen somewhere? I mean, I guess, king to d2. Am I just trying to escape here? King to d2, queen has to run away on that diagonal. Got to look at d5, b7, and a8. He's threatening to put the rook on e6. I mean, but king... King to d3 threatens to win the knight right away. Did I look at that far enough? King d3, queen e4, check. King c4. King d2, queen d5. King c1. Doesn't really win anything, does it? Do I need to win anything? I mean, I'm up a little material. Queen takes d4. Maybe that works actually. Queen takes d4. No, I guess not. Queen takes d4. Rook e6, check. Just loses too much material. Queen takes d4, rook e6, check. King d1. Queen takes d1. King takes d1. Well, what about queen takes d4, rook e6, check? No, if I run the king up, then the queen's got the check. There's a lot to calculate here. I mean, my thought here is to go king to d2, but queen to d5, threatening some discoveries. I'd have to move again. But then I've got a double attack on the knight. So he would have to jump with check. And there's no good jump with check. So he's pushing the pawn in that case. And now the knight's pinned. Actually, that might work, huh? King to d2, queen to d5, king to c1. Knight takes c2, king takes c2. There's no rook check there. Rook c6, pawn takes c6. Guess that's not really winning anything either. Oh, I wouldn't take... Oh, would I take the knight? Because now he's attacking the queen. King d2, queen d5. Okay, what about rook takes right now? Huh? Rook takes d4. I didn't really look at that because of knight to e6, or rook to e6. So rook takes d4, rook to e6, bishop to b3 pinning. There's no queen checks. I guess the pin. Rook takes d4, rook e6, bishop b3.
Oh God, stop.
Oh God, no! I don't know if that got any of that in frame. Okay. She's just running around repeating Toto's Africa. Snow crazy. Rook takes d4 looks pretty good. Rook takes d4, rook over, and pins. So rook takes d4. Any other move, and I just have to escape that pin. Some sort of queen move, king move, something. I mean, I'll give the exchange back. So rook takes d4, rook e6, bishop e3, bishop takes d4, bishop takes e6 check, and then I take the bishop. So that's way too much material. That looks pretty good. Rook takes. And just correct. Oh, now here's where I get the extra 100 points down here. But let's see the whole, so queen to b7. That didn't worry me too much because I've got the checks and I can start to run. Yeah, now it just exchanges off. And that's just winning. Too much. So let's see what I was talking about. So knight in, here, here, and pinning. So you lose this, but you win this with check. And then you can get here. And that's just a rook. So let's see here. Average blitz, 39 seconds. Wow. But a 54% success rate. And average standard, 240 with a 53% success rate. These are harder puzzles, huh? Mixed success rate. Hanging piece, pin, unsound sacrifice, unpinning. Extra move, rook e6. Well, that's what I looked at right here. I don't know really what that means. 3.5 stars. People didn't like this puzzle. To have a convenient button to play the current position against the computer and see common problem mistakes. I see. So I'm going to take a look at that and see in a new tab so I don't lose my spot. $20 a year. That looks very reasonable. $35 a year for all the extra stuff. So maybe I'll look at that and try and do another one, another video. Wow, that looks like a lot of stuff. Cloud engine analysis. $4 a month. Yeah, very reasonable. Probably do that for next time. Okay, so 3 problems in a row, 3 problems right. All looks pretty good. User 1937. I'm not going very quick, but isn't that kind of the point, to get them right? AKA John Bartholomew rules. So let's keep going. Next problem. People were saying these are a lot harder than the lead chess tactics, but I haven't noticed that they're a lot harder. I mean, it changes based on how fast you get it, so maybe that's what they were talking about. So white to move, no castling. Rook takes f8. So white's down a rook right now. Can just capture back. What's wrong with capturing back? I guess if capture back, king e4. No, because then you can just push the pawn. Does that work? Push the pawn? Maybe he can stop that. Got the check right now. Maybe I should push the king back first. Doesn't really push him back though, does it? Bishop d6, check. King e4. Then push the pawn. Rook back over. Got no good way to attack the e8 square. So I don't have a light squared bishop, and the knight can't really get there. So I see the problem. So I really need to get rid of that bishop somehow with some sort of tempo. Bishop takes now. King e4. I'm losing a bunch of pawns. I mean, I'd like to go d6, but bishop takes e6. He still has a dark square bishop. Maybe that's all right though. But what about e6, rook back? d6, rook e8. Oh, then just d7. d6, huh? d6. Rook d8. Bishop takes d8. Bishop takes e6. What are you laughing at? You just laughing to yourself?
So you can just check your Instagram story when you get time.
My Instagram story. d6, rook d8. Oh, maybe then I have the check. Like d6, rook d8. Does that even help though? d6, pawn takes d6. Or e6, I mean. d6, bishop takes e6. Still hanging the rook. Still got no prospects. Those double bishops are pretty powerful. Bishop takes rook, king e4. Oh, maybe he doesn't have time. Bishop takes rook, king e4. e6. Bishop d6. Then, bishop d7, then d6. Hmm. Man. Bishop takes rook looks good. Then I'm up a pawn, but bishop takes rook. King e4. Bishop takes rook, king e4. Then knight e7. Or wait for knight e7. Bishop takes rook, king e4. Pawn e7. If king takes, then I have the fork, winning the light squared bishop. What about that, huh? Bishop takes rook, king e4, e7. Oh, I don't have the knight move then, so he's got to move the light squared bishop. Bishop takes rook, king e4, e7. Bishop d7. Just got no good way to defend that. Bishop takes rook, e4, knight d7, knight d7. Now where does the Bishop go. Bishop back. That light squared pawn, that pawn on b5 is holding down that angle. The pawn on h7 is holding down that angle. Bishop takes f8. King e4. Knight e7. He's losing the bishop. Then it's very hard to stop that pawn. He'll have to give up his light squared bishop. Or his dark square bishop, I mean. So, bishop takes f8, king e4, knight e7, bishop g6, or just king takes. King takes. It's like when you try to be quiet, it's way louder. You know how you're like slowly opening a package and you can hear every crumple?
But do you want one?
Yeah, of course I want one. That looks pretty good though. Sour Patch break. Oh, watermelon.
They're the best.
Oh, thanks. Bishop takes f8, king e4, knight e7, king takes d5, knight takes f5, king takes e6. That's probably winning, right? A piece for a pawn. He's got his h pawn stuck on dark squares. I can just bring my knight and bishop back to defend the other queen. That looks pretty good. I might just be thinking completely wrong about this. These in-game puzzles are really hard for me. What do you need? No. I mean, bishop takes f8. He can't push the pawn because my bishop covers that diagonal, and I'm threatening to just push e7 and queen. He can't cover that diagonal with his dark square bishop. That looks pretty good. Now this is the trick. I think the trick is knight to e7 because I need to get rid of that light square bishop, and now I have all the squares controlled. And then he has to sacrifice for it. Sweet. All-time high, tactic correct. Oh, that's just the highest tactic rating? Cool. So that's when I get one of these, because the standard rating is 1863, which you guys can't see yet, but let's scroll down so you guys can see it. Make sure. So it's a blitz rating of 2219, 124 average. That's pretty quick, but slowing down. And 528 average for the standard. With only a 50% success rate though, 52% success rate. And I'm trying to get them right, which is what's happening. So we're at 45 minutes now. I've only done 4 of these puzzles, but Trisha and Africa have taken a lot of that time. So let me try one more, see what we can get to. I'm at 1995. I guess one more. Assuming I don't lose any points. Some people were saying they lose points for timing. Should get me over 2,000, which would be nice. Let's see, next problem. Queen to b7. So, down a pawn. He's got back rank problems. The queen's currently undefended. Makes me instantly want to play something like rook to e7. Pushing the queen around. But am I threatening more there? The rook on a8 and the rook on a1 are only sort of, I mean, the a1 rook isn't defended at all right now, and the a rook can be undefended if I move that queen around. So can I threaten the a1 rook with something? Something like queen to e5, threatening queen e8, rook e8, rook e8 mate. Queen to e5. There's an b6 or a7 check. King g3. So king e5 threatens the mate and threatens the rook. So that looks good. So let's see if we can run through the checks. King e5 or queen e5, queen b6 or queen a7. I can push the pawn. Queen e5. And he can't defend both threats, right? Queen e5, queen a7 check, c5. Queen takes, so that's no good. So he's got to defend the mate, and then I take the rook, right? So queen e5. There's no good way to defend the mate from there. So queen e5, queen b6 check, c5, queen d8. Queen takes rook. That looks pretty good. That was fast though. So is there something else that I'm missing here? Queen e5. If white gets two moves, queen e5, queen e8 check, rook e8, rook takes e8 mate. So that's good. So I am threatening the mate. So queen e5, how can he defend the mate? Put the queen back to the back rank. Give the king an extra square. Or rook to f8. Rook to f8 doesn't work for queen e6 check. And queen to back rank or king extra square loses the a1 rook. That looks pretty good. I don't see any useful checks after c6. Yeah. Okay, is that a useful check though? I mean, I have to take. Takes, Queen B1. I'm still threatening the same stuff. I could even just move the rook back. Sweet. Tactical Wizard. And I had that puzzle figured out before that. I was just making sure I had all the calculations right. I'm getting points. What was the points for? Do I have extra points somewhere? I don't know what those points are for. I'll try to figure it out. Okay, so in Blitz is a 2026 puzzle in 46 seconds. In Standard, it's an 1815 puzzle in 335. It took me 5:30, but to be fair, I had it figured out a couple minutes before. I was just double and triple checking. Jumped my user rating up to 2028. I assume I'm still getting more points than I should because I've done so few puzzles. 5 correct. I assume they'll start to slow down. Cool. Well, this is good. I think I'm going to stop here. It's been 50 minutes. I'm going to stop here at 5 puzzles. And I'll probably buy the membership and compare it to Lichess after that once I see all the extra features that it has. But yeah, it looks really cool. I mean, it's got some extra features. The problems do seem difficult, but I don't think more difficult than the puzzles that I've been seeing. Anyway, cool. Thanks for watching.